I'm Mary Kay.
Hello.
How's your
How's
day
it going?
going? I'm great.
Good.
Good.
I mean, you make a movie and it's sometimes the timing of stuff. I'm excited to be talking about this movie.
I'm excited to talk to you about it. And I know we have only about 15 minutes, so I want to jump right in if that's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Um, so the idea of a child sacrifice is one that's like older than history. Like before humans had written language, they were talking about sacrificing their kids. So
Yeah.
um, I know why I'm interested in that horrifying history because it kind of explains sort of the inherent grossness of human nature. But what interested you in such a like an old idea, I guess?
Well, for one, on the more positive tip to it is like the story of, what would a mother do to save her child. And with this particular mother, she's the town vicar and she's very pious. And so to become embroiled in this kind of pagan world for her is, something she wouldn't have been interested in at all.
Mhm.
So for her, the choices she has to make in this movie as far as like what she would do to save her daughter, that was really
Okay.
powerful to me. um but then on the flip side, yeah, like the links that extremists, cult people, whatever you want to call them, will go to for what they believe in their religion, is really can be really sickening,
Mhm.
and twisted. And the fact that, many times a God that they love and believe in, they think would be made happier by murdering their own children,
Mm.
is just great fodder for a genre movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
And the mythology of that, and building on what Tom DeVille created in his mythology. It's, like you said, it's been around forever, this kind of thing, and I don't know why. And it's bad stuff.
Yeah. It is, yeah, well said. It is totally bad stuff. um, so I wouldn't call Lord of Misrule revisionist, but when you're adapting an ancient archetype to a new medium, I'm sure there has to be like some artistic license about how you update it or adjust it or even, cut some stuff out because it is just too bad, or maybe, you lean in on that stuff. So um what kind of like how did you develop that within the, I guess, within the confines of the screenplay? Like how did you, what'd you do?
Well, Lord of Misrule, as like that concept has been around since like Roman times, and it's developed. It used to be, and normally a Lord of Misrule is someone who would be chosen by the town, who could be king for 1 week,
Mhm.
and then that person would be executed. So the town idiot gets to be the king, and but for that you lose your life. And then over time it bounced around the world, this whole idea. And when we were developing this one, it's a different take. It's the Lord of Misrule is kind of become the hero to the town who drives out the demon, and which make gives him a little bit more power. And for me, it allowed the Lord of Misrule to be kind of the chosen person of this, strange and haunting village, who may or may not be completely evil. And once again, like you said, it all revolves around their children. And so for them, sacrificing their firstborn was something that was important enough to them for their Galogog god, or spirit. And then, like we said, and for other people, it's sacrificing for the god itself. Um so it was really fun trying to kind of take what was a mythology that's kind of been around and give it a fresh spin, if you will, and make something different out of it.
Yeah. Um, so I love that you made the children also a little creepy in this film. Um, and kids to me that I love children, of course. Like we all love children. Yeah, yeah. But they're also creepy. Like they know things they shouldn't know. Like they make decisions, like you can see them making decisions that are weird. And I just wondered, did you have a difficult time like making the children seem creepy, like Grace and Bryony especially, or were you just like get in there, kid, and be yourself? Like, how did that
Well,
go?
I mean, some of it comes through just in casting, right? And with casting kids especially, it's about auditioning and just seeing if they have a certain spark or
Mhm.
um and both of those girls that you're talking about in the story, um, they both are really striking and
Yeah.
interesting. So they had a certain energy, both of them, when I first read with them. And but it's kind of what you said. It's like it's not very difficult to make kids creepy, like, because I mean, it didn't require me to coach them a lot on how to be unsettling or a bit twisted. It's like it came very natural to them. And I guess, kids are cruel, right? And
Yeah.
they got to lean into that in a lot of different ways. Grace's character is kind of in on it as well.
Mhm.
She understands what's happening to her more or less. And then Bryony is, you know, full on. But I
Right.
mean, yeah, they really had fun with that, and it came very naturally to them to be pretty wicked.
That's great. I mean, it's terrible, but it's also great.
Totally
Beautiful to
great.
watch.
And
Yeah.
and in between takes, they just run around like little kids and do cartwheels. And then when the cameras are rolling, they just bring out that side of themselves.
Oh man,
But
that's
it
even
came
more
very
jarring.
naturally.
Good.
Yeah.
Good kind of. Yes. Great
Yes.
answer though. um so I would like for to hear what you think about like the costumes and set design because as an American from Georgia, we don't have anything older than like 1860. So when I
Hmm.
get to see old world artifacts like the puppets and the masks and even the houses themselves that feel really authentic, but also kind of used in contemporary ways, I tend to lose my mind a little bit. Like I'll, try to watch the film all the way through and then go back and like really study the set because it's so
Yeah.
interesting to me. So, can you tell me about your creative process for developing that kind of you utilizing that authenticity? And is there any special like visual element that stood out that you really want to talk about?
Well, I mean, I'm like you. I'm from Kentucky, and then I live in Los Angeles. And so whether I'm watching, Harry Potter and the style of architecture, and then when you go to London, you walk around going, I'm pointing at everything, going, wow, look at that black building. That's so incredible looking.
Yeah.
Um, but to them, they just kind of shrug, and they're
Mhm.
used to it. And so the town is in the story was set in this village, and I thought we'd be cobbling together bits and pieces from different areas to try to create a cohesive village and maybe even building a lot of stuff on stage. And this town, Aldbury, invited us to film there. And it's all, I think their oldest building was like for the 1400s, a bar, of course.
Of course, it's
And
the bar that survives. Everyone loves the bar,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
And so you're shooting in, like in a museum, and
Mhm.
every location we would go to, they have such bizarre architecture, the strange curvy posts that run through the houses, the really low ceilings. And
Mhm.
there was a time when we were rehearsing where the characters would have to duck walking through doorways because it's like the whole village is built for like hobbits,
Mhm.
really small. I mean, I'm pretty small, so it's okay for me, but a normal person, everybody's hitting their head. But and then I realized that's like authentic. So instead of like saying we got to do another take, you ducked that time, try to look more natural when you walk through the door. It's like, well, that's what this world is. So all these things, it was leaning into what made that world so beautiful in the first place and haunting, and it has so much history. So like Allison Butler, our production designer, her strong suit is kind of design, art design. And so taking these already really gorgeous, haunting locations and then populating them with specifics to our
Mhm.
mythology, that we tickled in everywhere in every scene. And then costume wise, Libby Irwin, who did the costumes, I mean, what they did, it's for this tiny of a movie this was, it's just, for me, once again, as an outsider, as an American, I'm just like, oh, this stuff's just incredible. And in a way, for them, they're like, sure, that's, that's a mummer's outfit or whatever. And I'm sorry, I have a software update thing popped up.
Okay.
But and then, the mythology of all that stuff, creating the symbology,
Mhm.
um, it just was very natural and authentic to kind of what's there. And I believe I kind of felt this way, and I think that's part of the reason they brought the project to me, was a perspective like you and I of this, because it's so wonderful and fantastical and beautiful. uh Maybe somebody who had been local may not have
Mm.
drawn out as much of that detail because they weren't as surprised constantly by it. So everything about it, like the crews and the cast, everybody there, they're so skilled and they have such great talent level, and taste, that and those festivals are kind of real. So like even in the festival stuff, I mean, a lot of those people perform in the festivals for real, and we just had them
Amazing.
come to perform in ours.
That's
And
incredible. I
yeah,
love that so much.
yeah, all that stuff, the Green Man, everything is every village has their Green Man every year who comes out and does their festival. And so
Wow.
it's such a cool world to dive into and for me to immerse myself into. And I'm
It,
glad you like it.
I
Or
loved it. It's just, it's so, it really, like, I mean, I keep saying the word authentic, but it was also like very immersive too. I loved it a lot. So speaking of that authenticity, again, the chant, all is as was, is super harrowing and also like very catchy. Like I was humming it the next day and I was like, what is that from? That's really disturbing that got stuck in my head. Um, that song in particular, and if you don't want to talk about that particular moment, that's okay. We can move on. But
oh yeah.
how is that? How did that come about?
Um, yeah, somebody who saw it a few weeks ago said they can't get that out of their head. Thanks a lot for that. Um, so, in the script that was called the Hymn of Galagog, and it
Okay.
just said in the script they start to hum the Hymn of Galagog, or they start to sing the Hymn of Galagog. But there was no Hymn of Galagog, there was no chant. And so during pre-production, I worked with the same composer, and they couldn't make his deal. And so we were in the middle
Mm.
of shooting, and the cast was like, I can't wait to hear the Hymn of Galagog. And I'm like, yeah, it's going to be great. And I'd been listening to a lot of stuff, and the weekend before we started shooting the scenes where they chanted that, I still didn't have, I mean, I had a lot of stuff that inspired me, but there was
Mhm.
nothing concrete. So I called my mother and my stepfather, and I sent them some melody, and I sent them some lyrics, and I was like, and they're both musicians.
Okay.
And I was like, would you know, try to put this together as
Mhm.
a cohesive piece? And then my mother sent me back an iPhone recording of, of what's in the movie, of the All Is As Was chant, the Hymn of Galagog. And the next morning we're on set, and like I'm piping her, very simple, with one simple piano note in her voice singing it. I'm piping it through the church so that everybody can learn it, the whole cast. And there's like 50, 60 people there that day. So it became and then it became thread into the score, and into every scene. But it was something that, yeah, it's become very close to my heart because it was created with my mother.
That's really special. I love that. I love that she was like, yes, let's go deeper into the crevasse and make this
Yeah.
wild. I love
Yeah.
that.
And it turned out just, great. I mean,
It did.
like simple. And yeah, you want it to be a earwig and get stuck in your head in a way. So I'm glad
It
it did.
is. It really is. And it also felt like when you called it a hymn, I was like, oh, of course. It's because like not everyone would have been able to read it. It needed to be like memorable and catchy. And that it works all the way down. I love it. Um, I know we only have like maybe a minute and a half left. So I have two quick questions. The first one is is it Rafe Innocent? Is that how I say his first name?
Ralph?
Ralph. Okay. Is Ralph Ineson as intense to work with as he appears on screen? Because
No.
okay, I feel like
I
he was
mean, he's
probably a really
intense
nice
when
man. They could turn it on, but yeah.
he's, yeah, I mean, we were having beers in London, and the character that he plays was written as like a 70-year-old woman.
Oh,
And so, he's just like, we're good friends. And so he's the most normal guy in the world. And in talking about the script, I was like, what if you played Jocelyn instead of a woman, And he was like, let me think about that. He goes, yeah. And then we just kind of started going from there. Um, so he is, though, like, if you don't know him, just his voice isn't a put on, he doesn't talk
right.
low. It's just the way it sounds all the time.
Wonderful.
And so, but yeah, once you get to know him at all, it's like, no, he's just a mate. He's just a great guy.
Wonderful. Um, so is there anything I should have asked you about that I haven't asked you about that you want to talk about?
Mm. Well, I don't know.
Okay, that's
The
fine.
um, you know, I mean, we certainly can mention Tuppence Middleton, who
Okay.
was super involved in developing the script as we got closer, and her
Okay.
notes, I think, it really allowed the script to kind of turn a corner. And even she, it's like, she's like, listen, Brent, I don't want you to freak out, but I want to get a perm for the movie. And I was like, all right, I trust you. And she goes, yeah. She goes, I just want to bury myself in this character. And I think she would have, this kind of wild perm. And so anyway, I no, that wasn't like a question I was hoping to answer, but or whatever about her perm, but it just came to
Oh, I
mind.
love that. That's exactly the answer I was hoping that you'd have is just
Well,
like,
I mean, I'll say one more thing about her,
okay.
which is hilarious, which she's incredible. And she has a cat who's getting on in age. And so, and she's somebody who really believes in genre movies, and she's going to direct a horror film that's and she was like, yeah, like in my free time, I'm learning taxidermy because I want to stuff my cat when he dies. And I was like, yeah, it's awesome.
Thank you so much for sharing that with me. I love that.
So it just gives you an idea of
Yeah.
what she's like.
That's wonderful. Can you tell us what you're working on next, or is it a secret?
No, it's not a secret. Hopefully both, I'm doing two movies this year, both back in the UK. One is called The Ascent, and one is called Isochronic. And
Okay.
yeah, I mean, I don't know which is going to be first. We're kind of like figuring that out,
Mhm.
but I get to go back and work with the same crew, and hopefully a lot of the
Great.
same cast, because it's just a very inspiring place to work.
It really is. That's wonderful. And thank you again so much for making the time to talk to me. I know we're coming up on our time, so I won't hold you because I want next time for you to say yes again. So
Of course.
um until I think December 8th, right, is when
Yes.
Lord of Misrule is releasing. So we
Yep.
will be standing in the woods and waiting for that. Thank you
Amazing.
so much, Brent. It was really nice to talk to you.